Hi, it's day 5, and I hope you are ready to talk about resumes. When it comes to your resume, there are really 3 things that are important. The first is the layout on the page. The second is what you include, and finally, what to leave out. Let's talk about layout first. When it comes to format, keep it simple. Use a sans serif font like CALIBRI or Tahoma, and never go lower than a 10-point size. You also want to avoid graphics, fancy fonts, too many fonts, colors, or templates you can download from the internet which confuse the computer that scans your resume. Starting right at the top, you should have your name, your city and state, your cell phone, your email address, and the URL for your LinkedIn page. There's no need to include your street address anymore. And don't use an objective. Instead, consider writing a professional summary at the top of your resume that tells an employer right up front the skills and traits you have to offer. Your skills can be bulleted just beneath that, and then your work experience will follow chronologically, starting with the most recent role and then going backwards. Unless you are currently a student, your education can go last, followed by any relevant certificates or activities. Now, I get a lot of questions about whether you have to have a one-page resume, and how far back do you really need to go? The best practice is to use a one-page resume if you are still early in your career. Keep in mind that these days you're not expected to go back more than 10 to 15 years anyway. So while there's no hard and fast rule, just make sure if you go to 2 pages that the jobs and the bullets that you include are still relevant to the job that you want. If they are not, leave them off. So that's format. When it comes to precisely what you want to say about your work, you'll want to focus on your accomplishments. You should resist the instinct to rehash the bullets from your job description. Instead, think about your contributions and quantify your achievements wherever you can. Another thing to keep in mind is that the first reader of your resume will very likely be a computer. If you don't take that into account, you may make some costly mistakes. First, you may be tempted to save yourself some time by making your resume generic so that it could be used for a lot of different jobs. Ironically, this actually wastes time because a generic one-size-fits-all resume will rarely make it through the applicant tracking software that most companies use to read resumes. Second, if your resume is targeted for a specific field, but you forget or neglect to check the specific keywords used in a job posting and leave them off, you could be passed right by. In both cases, it's not unusual for even the most qualified candidate to be rejected automatically by the system before a real person gets eyes on it. So, you want to make sure that the keywords in the job posting are also on your resume, and check it and revise it every single time. So now, what do you want to leave out? Well, leave off any reference to routine work or anything you never want to do again. You can also leave off any personal information like your marital status or a picture. Those are used in some cultures, but not here. Above all, leave out jargon or industry-specific language unless it is in the job posting, in which case, consider it a key word. You also can avoid language that's awkward by reading your resume aloud. If it sounds weird, do some editing and it will read more naturally. Finally, always, always, always ask someone you trust to proofread your resume for typos and grammatical errors. We all make them. Don't try to proofread your own work. That's it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to dig into the incredible supporting role that LinkedIn can play in your job search. See you then.